Hello, welcome again to one of Ben Thoughts by Vernon Snell. Today is February 28th, the last day of Black History Month, and I made a lot of these videos to have a reminder of where I was at these days. When February came around, I said, wow, this is Black History Month. I said, I wonder if I could one day be a part of history. And the reason why I say that is if those that's been following me or looking at my videos, I'm talking about the war on drugs in Washington Heights. I've been documenting my mental breakdowns since 2021. And I have a lot of videos of my meltdowns, and my disappointments, and my travels. And I'm out of Washington Heights, born in 71, from the Bronx to Washington Heights. Arrived in Washington Heights, and I believe in 1974 or 73. Then eventually in the 80s, things was changing. You know, you live a life and you really don't realize what the life is about up until you're older. And you put a lot of energy in just everything, I believe. And I'm a strong believer in why things happen. I know it's a question, but I'm a strong believer in that question. And perhaps I was born to document something that no one is talking about, is our communities, the war on drugs, and everything that went around, everything that happened. You know, I was raised with Dominicans from the 80s when they started migrating to the United States. And at one point, you know, Washington Heights was quiet, then it became noisy. I really didn't know Dominicans, but I knew I appreciated people. I appreciated these hustles and just getting to know what they were like. There wasn't so many African Americans raised up on my street. And I think I adapted pretty well, watching people and copying people. Eventually, I moved up my ladders in the street business, in the street economy. And it was just normal. I've seen so many rappers come to my neighborhood, so many artists. You know, when I was a young boy, I grew up watching Eddie Murphy's movies and loving Eddie Murphy. And I actually got to meet his brother, Vernon Murphy. He even came to our community back then. And it was a pleasure to see somebody that looked like Eddie Murphy. I've seen, you know, Terror Squad, Jay-Z, DMX, Rough Riders, Rosie Perez. I've seen so many different characters in my neighborhood. But when I would see these people in my neighborhood, I didn't think much of them. I just, you know, see them on TV, then you see them in person, and everybody looks at them like if they're superheroes, and I would go back to normal. I went back to doing what I do, raising my family, hanging out on the blocks, and just into my community. I didn't care to really idolize anybody on TV. And I've seen a lot of celebrities. Those who know Washington Heights, they know. But my point is, no one really documented how things happen. And in 2020, when I lost my businesses, restaurant business, party venue business, you know, my cultivating businesses, because of COVID shut everything down, and it's just a mess. I really lost it. I've been struggling all my life to sustain something secure, and it's been challenging. Street life, it's really, really challenging, especially those that, you know, your following herd that really don't understand success. They just see money, and I love the success in things and not the money. And a lot of people took a lot of my money, but they didn't take my success. And I've climbed up so many different ladders when it comes to street life, whether it's incarceration or courts or trials, relationships. I've successfully beat a lot of things. The only thing I really didn't beat was the money. And I don't think anyone ever could beat the money, because that was just a trick. But the war on drugs was a psychological game, and immigration and all of these things. And it really messed me up. It messed me up because I was trying to hold on to people that really just took advantage of me, I believe. A lot of people may say I took advantage of them, but everyone worked, you get a paycheck, and that's what it is. And you know, I think a lot of people looked at me as, you know, that's that dude, you know, I want to work with that dude, and they start seeing how much money you make, or what you're doing, or who you are, or what others think about you, and then they want more. When they work for corporate businesses, they don't do that. But when you're in the street life, that's what's the dangerous part, because everybody wants to be you, and everybody wants, you know, what you have. You know, psychological warfare is really serious. It's a brain injury, and I believe that I went through a lot of brain injuries, especially after 2020, when I lost my relationship of 30 years. I traveled outside the country. Started a business with my ex-partner, and that all didn't work out properly. And came back home, became an alcoholic, and I lost a lot. I was afraid of life itself. Felt abandoned. Just some bad times. But I documented myself throughout a lot of my downfalls, and my outings, and my travels, because I wanted the world to know one day what an African American went through coming out of the war on drugs from Washington Heights. And I know that I speak all over the place, and it's like abstract, but the point is that my life matters. The way I think matters. I exist on this earth. I traveled the path that I traveled, and I really didn't take away from anybody. If anybody that I've taken away from, it's been myself, because I've never had a life of just calm and ease. It was always me analyzing and trying to figure things out, whether from relationships or to business relationships, or just the day-to-day, especially with law enforcement, and this advantage that they had on people like me. The news, media, movies. I try to really analyze all of these things and figure out why is these things the way they are. And I always wanted to know why. And when you have a brain like mine, those are the type of brains that really get hurt, because you feel what you're thinking. And not everybody understands that, because most people are systemic, and they work in a way where they don't have time for emotions, and they tell you to keep your emotions at home or whatever it is. And that's the difference between them and me, because I worked with my emotions, and I was one of these street dudes that didn't glamorize the hustle. I felt the hustle, and I really didn't like the hustle. And although I participated in a lot of the business in the underground economy, it was what we had to do to survive. And a lot of people did glamorize, and a lot of people say, you know, it's really bad to glamorize what you have done in the streets, and that's, you know, it's not good for people. But I say this: someone invented it so we can do these things. And that's where I'm at in life, where we're put into these communities where these things happen, and we get shipments of product, and we become who we are. And someone is recording all of these things, and it affects a lot of people in the community. And I don't think that anybody coming out of, whether it's Washington Heights or Bronx, Brooklyn, or any of the urban boroughs or cities or states, I don't think anybody truly wanted to die on drugs. I don't think anybody wanted to be a part of the drug trade. But I think that the stress from day to day, and the poverty, and the lack of food, and the lack of care, and the war zones that we live in at times, you have nothing else to do but to try something to ease your brain. And it worked. So I'm making these videos, and I've made these videos to express how I think of my life. And I'm not accusing anybody for creating who I am, but I know that what I say, it's what I feel. And I don't make anything up. I ask questions, and sometimes you don't get the answers, and then you try to make an understanding of where you was at and why you are the way you are. And if I was so-called normal, I don't think I would ask these questions. I would just live my life. And I am living my life, but it's like, what was my life? Why was so many things the way they were? And why did this community thrive on people's weaknesses? And who was in these communities before us? And who are going to be in these communities in the future, which is today, which Washington Heights today is all the immigrants are gone. They're back home. Everyone has, you know, most people have something that they brought back from America. And I'm left back, you know, in America by myself, and I've been by myself for the last 5 years. And, you know, I wear this robe, and excuses that I have this robe on, but you know, when it comes to the point where one day where you have so much luxury and so much jewelry and so much cars and so much fame and so much of what every urban person wants, and you lose it all, you realize that nothing is worth it. You know, I lost so much, and I feel like I didn't have a spine or somebody to truly have my back, and this robe has got me through the last 5 years of my life. It's the only thing that I can, you know, grasp onto. It makes me feel like I do have a chance to making something more of my life, because the robe had my back. People take advantage of other people, and I've been taken advantage of so many times in my life that, you know, I don't know. I really don't know about people. I understand everyone is survival, but it's really difficult when you come from poverty with not a father, and all you think about is having a family and want to be successful, but that path of success is what's truly dangerous. You know, I have screws and rods in my spine. I have injuries throughout my whole body. I've been in hospitals so many times. I've had weapons in my head so many times. I had danger with the cops so many times. I've been to court so many times. I've been to through lawyers. Wow, my life has really been something incredible, and it's my life. This is why I'm recording it, and this is why I think it's important for me to have this new technology and say, you know what, if anything ever happens to me, I have a recording of that I was a part of this world, and I navigated this just like all the other people in history, but they didn't have anybody truly to record them. They had writing or somebody remembering. I'm in a new world now, which is where this technology is able to record me and see my emotions and try to understand me, because nothing is worth nothing at the end of the day. We all work, we all do something. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody is on this earth to do something. And whatever part of the job you do, it's a job to try to benefit the people that you care for. And when that is all stripped away from you, it doesn't matter if you're Michael Jordan. It doesn't matter if you're LeBron James. It doesn't matter if you're even a president. It's all worth nothing. Because what you have in your brain, you really want it to remain. You want to be appreciated. You want to be respected. You want to be a part of creating and helping and loving and caring. So throughout my journeys, and rebuilding who I am, I created Poetic Cinema because I feel like, you can't go to school to become who I am. And there's no actor, no advocate, nobody who talk like me. I really went on a psychological warfare, and I understand people totally. I understand the manipulation through toxins of all sorts. And I was a part of it. So I'm one to say, I'm speaking from hands-on, first-hand experience. Thank God I don't do any of those things anymore, but it took me almost 4.5 years to get my life back in control, because when you lose, your brain really it do something. And that war, it's true. And you become to have PTSD, ADHD, and you need something to calm you. If you don't have a mate or your family or something that's natural, because the pills and the doctors, it's not for humans. It's for robots. God is my witness. I had to travel from Puerto Rico to Arizona, Miami, back to New York to really figure out who I was, who I am, what I've been through, and to try to make sense of it. So creating this Poetic Cinema and these videos is because I want to be put into one day and study, Black excellence. I crossed bridges with all different type of ethnicities. I was a part of all type of trades. I've seen deceiving lies and work ethics and all things that my community had brought me. Things that that you don't see on TV. To truly understand what dark-skinned people go through. So maybe white America one day can say, wow, that's deep. And I'm not here to point fingers of who think they're better. We're all going to go to the same place, and that's it's under the ground, or our ashes thrown in the air. I believe there's no one better than anyone. It's just people that are way more powerful than others because they have a way of supplying to people something that gives them power. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's a horrible thing at the same time. But what I'm doing is not harming anyone. I see what happened to celebrities that speak up. I see what happened to activists that stand up. This place is what it is. And we are who we are. And we're going to be who we're going to be. One or two people that raise their voice up to an audience and make people not do what someone have planned for us to do, they're going to be harmed. They're going to be taken out. This place is made for the people who found the place that was already here, and we're still living in a modern age of the past. Not too many people truly understand what that means, but we're all on survival mode no matter who we are, even if you're the powerful. We're all on survival mode. And I just want the rest of my life to be in peace of knowing that I know what I know and how I navigated my life. Because, you know, to see so many deaths, and to see my mom pass away from things she was eating and develop cancer, and to see the treatments, there's no amount of money I can pay for it. This is not about money. This is just about my company of Poetic Cinema, trying to get out to the world my stories and the stories of urban communities. And we matter because we're alive. It's not that we matter because we're dark. It's that most of the people that created the wealth for the rich are hurting, and I'm a part of it. And all of these tricks to keep us in power is what I want to talk about one day to the world, because psychologically, it's not right. As you can hear, you have sirens in the background, and those sirens remind me of the old days. Running and running just to make money. And I've made so much money in my life, and it's all gone now. I have no money. It's all digital. And I have very low numbers in digital numbers. So it's just amazing how from analog life to digital we are. And still, no one is truly understanding that this world is about making us feel versus keeping us aware of the realities of their citizens and the Earth's citizens. The names, the words. What are we becoming? What have we become? You know, I really thought life was going to be different. You know, I've had a lot. $1 million homes, over 20 cars, over 10 motorcycles, 3 boats, jewelry, property in the Dominican Republic, party venues, restaurants. I did all type of street. All types. The those in Washington Heights, they know. The Highway 95, south and then north, no. A lot. But like I said, I got my way, taking care of my family, and that's what I did. And I did it honorably, but it takes a toll out of your life. And it's just like a war hero, you know, getting caught up in these wars, and it's all in your head, but it's true, it belongs to you. And these wars are all in my head and they belong to me. And a lot of people may think, wow, he looks weird. Well, that's called abuse. Abuse, and then they call it trauma. If you have no abuse, there's no trauma. And usually a person that has trauma and has been abused. And for those that I did touch when I was going through my psychological warfare, you know, that wasn't easy because I was trapped in my war. But this war wasn't brought on to me. Whether I knew or I didn't know, I contributed to what society was asking for me to do. But I was dodging all the things that was going to take me into these jails. Thank God for money, thank God for cash. It's hard for me to say this, but thank God for the lawyers that created this communication with other lawyers, so money ruled everything. It's just all about to take the money back from what the community was bringing in. This is a video I truly want for someone to understand the depth in it. This brain belongs to me. My life belongs to me. What I know belongs to me. They can harm me all they want, but this video is going to be around. I have nothing bad to talk about, nothing, because it comes to the end of the day, everything has to do with business. Everything is about touching something, touching somebody. Numbers. Black on black crime, white on black crime, black on white crime, sex, politics, desires, speed, care. It's all business. It's nothing personal. People are just people. They reproduce people by us doing what we do to reproduce people. The production company and people is always going to be here. But what no one is going to truly have is what a black person went through in Washington Heights. When a war on drugs in the 80s, all the way up to 2020. And then COVID took them over the top like a volcano. And lava pouring all over, burning things down. That was me. Without any medical help. And repairing myself to who I am today. Creating a company and creating companies. And just trying to make sense of what my life is about. So I'm making these videos so you can see clearly who you are, who I am, and what I have to offer. And I don't need to pretend with a tie, or blue eyes, or fair skin. I am who I am. Look through my Instagrams, my TikToks, go to my businesses, Glow Party Venue, GLOW Party Venue, Waldwick, New Jersey. Solace, SOLACE Bar and Grill, Solas Boutique Hotel, Dominican Republic. You'll see all the things that I've done. Go to my records of incarceration, the justice system. You can go to how many times I've been in the hospital, back surgeries, severed fingers, then the betrayals. You can see all these things just by doing some research, which that's what I want people to do, and that's why I'm making these videos. So people can totally understand what they're getting when they invest in me or they're interested in me. There's so many people that are confused about life. And it's the life that's actually confusing them. So like I said, today is the 28th. February, Black History. I happen to be in Miami, Florida. You can see the wonderful view behind me, the highways. I used to come down to Miami before all of these buildings was here. Just like those old gangster movies, bootlegging days. Then you're old and you see the development, what your work has done for this country. Those guys that was doing the bootlegging, everyone's addicted now to liquor. It's just the way things are. Evolution. Illegal, underground, economy, underground. Rich get richer. Then it changed around to become legal. Then the rich and everyone else that's a part of that know what they're buying. It's a win-win situation. But like I said, it's very few people that have my brain and have the understanding of what I've been through in life. wanted to be a comedian, just like Eddie Murphy. But life happened. It took a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of beating. I did well for my family. And hopefully we can get the world one day to see who I am and what I've done. And why I make these videos. Because I care. I'm not trying to create more problems in the world. I truly care. And I care for everybody who walks into my party venue, from the Jewish communities, to the privileged whites, and whoever walks into my restaurant, from the blacks, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, and the whites that sometimes call my place sketchy, but end up loving it. I love changing people's minds. I love giving them my heart. Thank you for your time. And I hope you understand me. And I hope you feel me. God bless you, whichever God. But you're blessed just to be alive, and I'm blessed to have the sun on me, trying to make me grow.